Are you training hard but you're not getting the results that you feel like you deserve? Here are some of the reasons why. First mistake, and it's probably the most common, is that you want to push it to feel exhausted and out of breath in your workouts rather than continually progress over time. How sweaty and exhausted you get isn't actually a reflection of how much progress you're going to make with that workout, and it certainly isn't a reflection of the amount of calories that you're going to burn and the results that you're going to get. The results that you're going to get are going to come from making progress consistently over time, and simply getting yourself sweaty, exhausted is not a fair indicator of that. So the first mistake is to ensure that you are not using that as your main metric in order to make progress in the gym. So if we're not using getting sweaty and exhausted as our main metric to get into the best shape of your life, what do we need to use? Well, strength training is what you should be doing in order to build up your physical capacity, build up your muscle mass, speed up your metabolism, and the only way that you're going to do that is through strength training. And that's going to ensure that any weight that you lose is just going to be fat rather than fat and muscle, which can happen if you're just focusing on getting sweaty and out of breath. So tied to that, you might be thinking, well, I actually already do strength training. I do squats, I do deadlifts, I do bench press. Now that's great. But whenever I hear someone saying that they are doing strength training, what they're actually doing is they're just doing exercises with weights. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're strength training. So you could be doing CrossFit 3 to 4 times per week, but really those exercises are performed within a HIIT protocol, especially if you're doing some kind of WOD. So what you want to be doing is ensuring that when you're doing strength training, you're actually doing those within strength training protocols. So that usually means working within a defined set of rep ranges, making sure that you're taking long breaks in between those sets, and making sure that you go as heavy as possible for each of those exercises rather than blast through them as quickly as possible before you go on to the next exercise. So make sure that if you are strength training, you are performing these within a strength training protocol. Now, the next mistake that people are making when they're strength training is they're not focusing so much on their technique. It's really important that when you're strength training, your technique is the first thing that you should be really focusing on. This is going to ensure that when you actually do those exercises, you're focusing on getting the most out of every rep rather than thinking, I need to get as many reps done as possible, or I need to get these reps done quickly. You're just thinking where you need to be strong, where those potential weaknesses are, and how you need to perform that movement to make it as safe and effective as possible. And it all starts with the setup. So you'll see, and I've posted many videos before, how important the setup is to ensuring that you get that exercise off to a good start and to ensure that you're in a good, strong, safe position before you go. And I usually ensure that this is some kind of ritual that you go through so that you can be consistent with that when you are doing these exercises. Now, once you've nailed your setup, it's then just a case of ensuring that you go through those cues in every single movement and you're performing each movement as mindfully as possible, so that if one rep feels slightly off, you know how to correct it next time, or indeed you know that it's too heavy and you might need to regress so that you can perform that movement as safely and effectively as possible. So another error that you might be making with your strength training is that your last 2 to 3 reps aren't challenging enough. In strength training, we have this concept called RPE, which is rate of perceived exertion, or reps in reserve. I prefer to use reps in reserve. Basically means how many reps away are you from failing with that weight. So we want to get you to a place where you are 2 to 3 reps in reserve, or sometimes 1 rep in reserve. So that will mean that you could only do just 1 more rep. Now, a lot of people think they're there, but they've literally got 5 or 6 left. And I've seen this with my clients who send me videos of their workouts, and I tell them just literally get to maxing out. And for them, maxing out, it just starts to feel a little bit heavier than it did before. And that's not going to ensure that you make progress. And if you're not getting to the right intensity, your body is not going to adapt, and your body is probably going to look the same. And the other thing it's going to force you to do is, because you're unaware of how 2 or 3 reps in reserve feels like, you're actually going to think, actually, I could do even more reps and even more sets. And you end up doing more reps and sets, and you just get stuck in that cycle of thinking you need to do more reps, more sets, more exercise to get results, rather than train with the intensity that you need to get the results. Now, the good thing about this is, once you do get to those reps in reserve of 1, 2, or 3, you're going to be feeling so fatigued that you can afford to take a nice long break, which is a great thing about strength training. You're not working hard all the time. You're just going 1 set, 30 seconds, quite hard, and then you can literally have a 4 or 5 minute break where you can mess about on your phone or something, do whatever you need to do to just relax, and then get psyched up for the next set. And that's no bad thing. Taking rest is very, very important. So make sure that you are getting those last 2 to 3 reps to a nice high intensity, and that's actually going to make sure that you're doing more quality work rather than you thinking that you need to do more quantity of work. So if you're training hard but you're not getting the results, hopefully some of those points might illuminate the reasons as to why that could be. And if you make changes to everything that I've mentioned in this video, I can guarantee that you'll be able to actually train less but still get even better results than you are doing now.